James Kavanaugh's fingers drummed an impatient rhythm on the armrest as his flight descended into Dulles International Airport. He wasn't supposed to be here, not yet. The tech conference in Tokyo still had 3 days left, but the text message on Victoria's phone had gnawed at him, an itch he couldn't ignore. Meeting confirmed for 2:00 a.m. you know where. He caught a glimpse of it by chance, a notification popping up while Victoria was in the shower. Work-related, she claimed, but at 2:00 a.m. Something didn't add up. As James collected his luggage and hailed a taxi, his mind ran through possibilities, wondering if he was overreacting. But years of coding had honed his instinct for patterns, for sensing when something was off, and this felt very off indeed. The cab pulled up to the sleek modern house James shared with Victoria. He paid the driver and stood there a moment, taking in the tranquil facade. Everything looked normal, peaceful even. But as he approached the front door, the hairs on the back of his neck stood up. Silence. That was what hit him first as he stepped inside. No greeting from the automated home system he'd set up. No lights flicking on to welcome him. Strange. He headed through the living room, spotless, untouched. The kitchen was similarly empty, the home office undisturbed. He was heading upstairs when he heard it. A faint splash followed by low voices. His heart pounding, James crept up each step. The master bedroom door stood ajar, a sliver of light spilling into the hallway. Another splash, a soft giggle. James pushed the door open. Through steam billowing from the ensuite bathroom, he saw Victoria and Gregory Stern, her business associate, entwined in the oversized spa tub. Victoria's head was tilted back, Gregory's mouth against her neck, his wedding ring glinting as his hand traced her collarbone. For a moment, James couldn't move or breathe. The scene was too surreal, too at odds with everything he thought he knew. Then, with an almost clinical detachment, he registered the details. A half-empty bottle of 1982 Chateau Lafite on the floor, Victoria's favorite wine, the scent of jasmine bath oil, the tension in Gregory's posture. Slowly, James stepped fully into the room. "Well," he said, his voice icy, "isn't this cozy?" Victoria's eyes snapped open. She scrambled, nearly slipping, trying to cover herself. Gregory turned, and of all things, he smirked. "Come to join the party, Jimmy," Gregory drawled. James stayed silent, an unnerving calm settling over him. This was the moment he dreaded but half expected from that cryptic text. He studied them both, and in that quiet, their smug laughter faded. Victoria, regaining composure, tried a different tactic. "You're home early," she said, voice laced with mock innocence. "Why didn't you call?" James didn't answer. He simply pulled out his phone, hitting a button that activated an app, one he'd installed months ago just in case. The bathroom's hidden camera whirred to life, capturing everything on video for a secure server. Gregory lunged, but James stepped aside. Still no words. He ended the recording, then tapped on his contacts. The phone rang twice before a familiar face, Charlotte, Gregory's wife, appeared on the screen. James angled the phone so she could see the two in the tub. Charlotte's expression morphed into horror. She opened her mouth soundlessly, tears already brimming. Gregory swore, thrashing in the water, but James ended the call, sliding the phone into his pocket. "Impressive," Gregory snarled, losing his composure. "You won't get away with this." Victoria's face was sheet white. "James, wait." But James turned and walked out, ignoring their frantic shouts. His footsteps felt oddly light as he descended the stairs. Anger, pain, betrayal. He locked them down, one by one, letting a cold, calculated focus take over. The next day, James sat in the minimalist office of Alexandra Russo, a longtime friend and top divorce attorney. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic city view. Alexandra, poised and professional, eyed him with concern. "You're certain about proceeding this way?" she asked, having listened to his story in hushed astonishment. He nodded. "I have enough evidence to file for divorce on grounds of adultery, but I need to ensure my assets are protected. This won't be a simple divorce, Alexandra." Her gaze hardened. "Understood. Let me call in some help. We'll make sure you have every angle covered." Within hours, Alexandra assembled a small team. Derek, her ex-police detective brother, now a private investigator, and Ethan, a cybersecurity expert. James explained the timeline, the camera footage, the phone logs. They nodded gravely. "Derek, we'll dig into Gregory's business, see if there's anything he's hiding. Might be relevant if we want to leverage negotiations." Ethan, meanwhile, I'll handle the digital side. Get your data on a secure server. Back up those videos, texts, everything. James thanked them, the sense of grim determination fueling him. He'd never wanted war, but he wouldn't be passive while they dismantled his life. He returned to the house, a place that felt more like a stage set than a home now. Victoria tried to speak with him, but he brushed her off, feigning exhaustion. He needed time to plan. Late that night, he set the alarm extra early so he could pack some essentials before she woke. At dawn, he loaded suitcases into his car. He emptied shared bank accounts into a private account. He canceled joint credit cards. Then, with a final glance at the sleeping form of the woman he once adored, James drove away. Let her find the emptiness and realize he was no fool. He booked a short-term rental, an unfurnished loft in a quieter part of the city. Owen, a trusted colleague, helped him behind the scenes with finances and property arrangements. Meanwhile, Derek and Ethan fed him updates. They'd uncovered suspicious transactions in Gregory's accounts, possible fraud. James wasn't surprised. Days turned into a week. Victoria frantically called him, leaving emotional voicemails, demanding they talk this out. He ignored her. She tried texting, but he blocked her number. At the same time, he anonymously leaked snippets of the spa tub video to certain influential people in Gregory's circle. Whispers spread. Gregory tried damage control, but the scandalous images were too damning. One evening, Charlotte reached out to James. He hesitated, then answered. Her voice shook with a mix of rage and humiliation. Charlotte, you lied to me, James. Our marriage was a sham, wasn't it? James, I'm sorry. If I'd known earlier. Charlotte, can we meet? We should talk. They met at a discreet cafe. Charlotte's eyes were swollen from crying, but glowed with determination. She shared details of Gregory's shady deals, hints of deeper corruption. Charlotte, tense. We can bring him down. He's cheated on me, on you, on so many people. Let's make him pay. James nodded slowly. He thought of the nights he'd spent coding revenge scenarios in his head. Perhaps it was time to enact them with Charlotte as an ally. Meanwhile, Victoria's calls became more desperate. She discovered the bank accounts empty, the credit cards dead, the house in her name but with massive mortgage costs she could never shoulder alone. Word of her betrayal spread among social acquaintances. She found herself socially ostracized. Gregory's life, too, unraveled. The rumored affair with a married woman tarnished his reputation in business circles. Clients began pulling contracts suspecting moral or financial instability. Then came the financial bombshell. Derek uncovered evidence of potential embezzlement. With Ethan's help, they confirmed it. James gripped the file containing reams of data. He's done, he muttered, handing it to Alexandra. We hand this over to the authorities and watch the fireworks. Gregory tried a last-ditch move, launching a smear campaign against James, claiming James was the real fraudster. But James' digital fortress was too strong. Ethan easily traced the smear attempts back to Gregory's IP addresses, amplifying Gregory's downfall. Soon, reporters camped outside Gregory's office, hungry for a scoop on the cheating scandal turned financial crime saga. Victoria, seeing Gregory's empire crumble, attempted to reconcile with James. She cornered him outside Owen's law firm. Victoria, eyes tearful. I was confused. I still love you, James. Don't do this. We can fix us. James, voice cold. You can't fix what you destroyed. You chose Gregory. Live with it. She tried to grab his arm, but he stepped away. We're done, he repeated, leaving her sobbing on the sidewalk. Gregory faced charges for fraud, possibly prison time. Charlotte filed for divorce, wielding the incriminating evidence James had shared. Victoria, left with bills, no job, and no support, saw her illusions of wealth fade. James, meanwhile, finalized his own divorce quietly. Victoria got a fraction of what she initially demanded, thanks to a solid prenuptial agreement and undisputed evidence of her infidelity. Walking out of the courthouse, James felt an odd mixture of relief and emptiness. So much chaos, yet a sense of resolution. The heartbreak lingered, but he protected his company, his future. He triumphed, if you could call it that. Months later, James's business soared. He poured his energy into innovation, forging new partnerships. Colleagues admired his calm leadership, unaware of the personal war he'd waged. Occasionally, He'd hear tidbits, Gregory indicted, awaiting trial. Victoria scraping by, overshadowed by scandal. Charlotte, ironically, found new purpose, championing women's rights in high-profile divorces. As for James, he moved forward. He learned to open his heart again, but carefully. The scars reminded him of the cost of betrayal. One sunny afternoon, he sat on the balcony of his new penthouse, an even more advanced, secure home he designed to reflect his new life. A cold breeze tousled his hair as he tapped on a tablet, finalizing code for a new project. His phone buzzed with a news alert: Gregory indicted on multiple felony counts. He set the tablet aside, gazing at the city skyline. The once suffocating anger had dissipated, replaced by a quiet acceptance. He made sure justice was served without losing himself. The house he built, both literally and figuratively, now stood on honest foundations, and that he realized was how he won. With a deep breath, James allowed a small smile. He closed his eyes, letting the wind carry away the last remnants of pain, ready for whatever came next.